Hi again then guys, and welcome to another tune setup specifically for straight line performance on Horizon 3, and this particular tune is for one of the slightly newer DLC cars on the game, the Radical RXC. Looks kind of like a mini Le Mans car, like a GT1 style machine. It looks decidedly more upmarket as well than most other Radical models, which tend to be kind of like Caterhams. They're very bare bones looking, only the essentials track cars, whereas this has a little bit more of an exotic look. It's similar to the vein of something like a Caparo T1 or a Hulme or the Ultima, for instance. Now, as far as the tune setup on this particular model, it's not quite as ballistically quick in a straight line as some quite simply more powerful supercars, but I don't think many people would expect it to be. The thing about a car like this is, like with the Ultima and some others, it's more about all-round ability. It's not just top-end performance or acceleration, it has that mix of really everything you need. Now, as far as conversions, etc., I would recommend leaving the stock engine in this particular car. You may be inclined to go for the race engine, but you do get better specs fully tuned with the stock power plant. As far as the drivetrain, many people probably won't want this to be all-wheel drive, so I can understand if you want to leave it rear-wheel drive. As always though, I would recommend all-wheel drive if you're not opposed to it. And as far as the rest, it's fairly obvious. Lower the weight, increase the power, etc, etc. Now, as far as the tune setup, I said of course that this predominantly isn't just a straight line missile, but as you can see, it's not slow by any means. 236 miles per hour, 0 to 60 in a fraction under 1.7, 0 to 100 in a very impressive just under 3.2, plus the handling, which comes with a car like this. It's a good all-round package. Now, as far as the gearbox, I would recommend 3.2 on the final drive, then individual gears of 2.9, 2, 1.5, 1.15, 0.9 and 0.68. Then for the rest, as we often do, very open, very changeable, down to personal preference. Neutral camber, neutral toe, 4 degrees of caster. You could take that even lower if you want the car to be even more manoeuvrable. As far as anti-roll, we've got those on 30, front and rear. Springs on 108 and 192. I've opted for the highest ride height. You don't have to do that, but I've mainly just done it for the looks and because you don't really want the car bottoming out on the road over bumps. As far as dampers, we've got those on 12 and 18, then 5 and 8. The aero does apply on this car, being more of a track car, of course, that's not too surprising, and I would recommend, purely for straight line speed, of course, the lowest possible settings in that regard. And finally, for the diff, as we often do, I've gone for 100% on acceleration, 0 on deceleration, and for this particular car, it really is heavily inclined towards the rear, with a 90% power split to the back. That gives you a great mix of launch. It gives you that little 10% of power, etc., going to the front end, and that's just enough to give it that little bit more control, especially off-road, that you just wouldn't have in a rear-wheel drive version. So overall, it's not quite as monstrously quick as some of the other cars which we've done, but in its own way, it's certainly not a slow car. So if you decide to use this build, either from my storefront, using the keywords in the description of this video, or by copying this tutorial yourself, either way, obviously I hope you find it fun and get a lot of use out of it. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.